Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of Cinema Rogues, Gone in 60 Seconds Today. Not the show, the movie.
What?
Today we are talking about Gone in 60 Seconds. I'm sorry, I said that completely weirdly. I don't understand why.
Like, Gone in 60 Seconds today.
Today.
And I was like, no, the movie takes place over like 5 days whenever the action starts.
Gone in 60 Seconds Today is our topic this week.
Today our topic is Gone in 60 Seconds.
I am your host, Guy, and I am joined by Andrew.
As you can tell, this show is heavily scripted.
I was going to say as always by Andrew, but now I'm just not confident that you're always going to be here.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see why.
Right? Because we're missing our third voice.
Yes.
One Pablo.
Pablo's graduated.
He's graduated to producing his own YouTube channel. And so we are losing him for this show. He's still going to be editing all the other Retro Warrior stuff. Don't worry.
This show rocketed him into such fame that he had to start his own thing. And he was like, well, I'm too famous now to be on this show.
He was a jerk about it, too. You should have seen it. It was a horrible text message.
Yep. He just sent us pictures of himself, like, with $100 bills around him, with jewelry all over him, flipping us off the entire time. Just sexy ladies all behind him.
So we're a two-person show now.
Just like all other Retro Warrior content.
And when Andrew leaves me, we'll be a one-person show, and I'll just be so sad.
I leave you. Yeah, you don't want to do a one-person show. I've done it. I did it for a long time for a Patreon exclusive. And then I did one episode in Board Game Barbarians where I just did it by myself because I was like, I'll just do like a 15-minute like review of a game. Like, that'll be fine. And like I got 2 comments that were like, please don't ever do that again.
Oh, no.
And I was like, okay. They're like, it was fine, but we need like the banter. Like, we like the information, but like one of the guys was like, I could have just read Wikipedia. Like, that's basically what.
Well, I mean, at least they're honest. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like taking in. I'm okay with taking feedback. I was like, cool, I'll just never do that again. That was a bad idea.
Right. It's not like my fucking YouTube comments. Let's see. There was the kill yourself dude. That sucked.
Yeah, that's not constructive. Not constructive feedback.
And then I was telling you earlier, I guess, like I had bought like a $50 ad buy through an ad company that does the YouTube ad or Google ads campaigns, and they target it for you. So I don't have to do any of that kind of research or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And I got like 2 new subscribers, a bunch of views of videos that I didn't advertise. So it seems like worth it. But
yeah.
But I got one comment, which was, did anybody else get this as an ad? And I immediately felt like a shithead for paying money for people to see my video.
Oh, that's sad.
Right?
Did they watch it at least? I mean, that's what matters. Did they?
Yeah, I don't know.
They showed up. Like, at least they cared enough to go to your content and go, hey, did anybody else see this as an ad? Like, when I see an ad for something, even if it's for anything, I go, never watching that. Just because I hate advertising. But
yeah, I don't know.
But I do always want a Coke and a cheeseburger from McDonald's every time I see those.
Well, there you go.
I don't know why. I have no idea why.
Yeah, the ad buy was to show up in like searches in that, like when you do a search on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
There's always like a top ad one that says, hey, watch
like
this
sponsored at the top.
Yeah. So it was like those.
Ah, okay.
Which is cool. But anyway, enough about my YouTube channel. If you want to check it out, check it out. If you want to check out Andrew's thing, what is it? It's a podcast.
It's a podcast. It's a podcast. Called Board Game Barbarians,
where he talks about board games, usually with Justin.
Usually, every time except once, every time except twice. One time I did it by myself. One time I did it with another friend.
Wasn't I on a show?
You were on an episode where we played Dungeon Crawl Classic.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can always check out Retro Warriors. It's probably how you found us in the first place. But if you are one of our organic listeners, then great. Check out Retro Warriors. It's good content about retro video games. It's a podcast that we both listen to. Clearly, we're a part of it. Well, at least we guest on occasion.
Nope.
You don't listen to it ever.
I don't, not anymore.
Oh no.
Not since being at home. I don't like listen to any podcast. Like the only podcasts I listen now are the ones that I'm editing. And I did take a trip to Fort Worth and listen to some podcasts on the way there.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat where I don't listen. I have to prioritize the podcasts that I listen to because I drive maybe an hour a week.
Yeah. I mean, that's an hour. That's a podcast a week.
Yeah. But when I get, 4 or 5 a week, they stack up quickly.
I mean, it should hopefully be released before this episode goes out, but it did take the entire drive from Fort Worth to Austin for me to listen to our episode 5.
Yeah?
I think it was worth it. I think it kind of petered out at the end, but we were also recording for 3 hours, so we were obviously tired.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I forced my wife to listen. I was like, we're going to listen to this because I'm not going to listen to it when we get home, and I have to listen to it for quality control. And she was like, okay. And after it was done, I was like, was it bad? And she was like, no, it sounded fine. It was just long, but otherwise.
Yeah, it was really long. I was excited to put it together. It took a lot. I guess for our listeners who hopefully have heard 5 by now. If you didn't know, it was originally recorded with 3 people. Pablo was in it.
Yep.
But he accidentally lost his audio and then he quit the show. So he said, you know what? We'll see if we can salvage an episode out of the 2 of us.
Quit the show because he lost the audio.
He
felt so bad.
He did feel bad, but at the same time, he didn't have the ability to put in the effort to cut together a show, and it didn't seem right to have a show that he participated in and then cut him completely out of it.
Right.
But now that he's voluntarily left the show anyway.
Yeah, but now that he's gone, who cares? Let's just cut all. Let's cut him out of all the previous episodes too.
He was never here.
We'll erase him from the Cinema Rogues memory.
But we put that together. Took about 6 hours and ended up being a 2-hour podcast. And I think it turned out okay. Actually, I think it turned out great. It was entertaining to listen to while putting it together, and then it was interesting to see, how things could make sense. There were a couple of times where I had to shift a bit of conversation over to an earlier bit because it made more context sense there. But it was there were a couple of good jokes that were prompted by Pablo stuff, and so I wanted to find a way to work in, a similar setup, so that you would make the same joke and talking in the same topic. So I don't know, it was fun.
I could see. I mean, there were a couple cuts that I saw, that I heard, and I was like, "Yeah, that's not how that works."
Right.
But I was there, and I don't think my wife she was playing on her phone the whole time, but she was listening. But yeah, sounds good. It sounded better than I would care to put all the work into.
Well, that's good.
So good job.
Thanks, man.
Good job, guy.
And then finally, check out Talking Wizards. It's Andrew's other show, his other show that he does with Justin.
Patreon exclusive.
Where they talk about absolutely nothing, and
we talk about nothing.
The funniest thing. It's my favorite podcast. I'm not gonna lie about that.
For $1 an episode, you too can feed Justin video games.
Did you fed him video games?
I fed him video games.
Did you make him finally eat his fucking PCE?
Oh, I should have done that.
Damn it.
I should have just crammed that right in his mouth.
I don't know. All right. Well, let's talk about movies that we have seen. You have seen none.
I have seen 0 movies. Just been watching a lot of New Girl. That's about it.
How much of it have you seen all of New Girl before?
This is my 3rd viewing, not in a row, but my 3rd viewing of the show in total. I think it's one of my constant rotations. I have a constant rotation of shows that I don't watch new shows anymore. I just watch the oldies.
The last memory I have of a New Girl episode is right around the Prince episode.
That's a good episode. I think it's season 2.
Yeah, that's about where I bowed out. I guess. I guess I didn't come back.
It's a really good show, man. I don't know. I love it's just like a character show, and I love all the characters in it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I even I enjoyed Coach and Winston, you know?
Winston, if you bowed out at the Prince episode, Winston gets progressively weirder and weirder and is possibly the strangest and best character of that show. Though it's really like, I honestly feel like the dynamic between Nick, Winston, and Schmidt is the best part of that show.
I can see that.
Yeah. Like I've gotten to the point to where I don't feel like Jessica Day, Zooey Deschanel's character, is the main character. I think it's the friendship between Winston, Nick, and Schmidt is the main character of that show.
I mean, that makes sense. They are pretty. It's an ensemble show, and Jessica's character can only go so far, right?
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, I think like once you get into like season 3, 4, and I think there's only 6 seasons. Once you get like after like season 3, if one of those characters had left, either Jess, Winston, Nick, Cece, or Schmidt, if any of them had left for whatever reason, that show would have just like not been the same and gone downhill. I don't know if they could have recovered.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I watched Ford versus Ferrari the other day.
Great movie.
Dude, that's a fantastic movie. I'm so mad. Okay. I'm mad because I didn't realize what the movie was about until I saw a preview for it.
Everybody says that. Well, everybody says, even they saw, like, Justin said, like, his entire family was like, it's just a movie about the Ford car versus the Ferrari car. And who wants to see that?
Well, like, I have friends, a couple of friends that are really into F1, and they have both F1 and Le Mans, I guess, both, right? Mm-hmm. And like they used to like live together, and they would wake up early on Saturdays to catch the races live.
Yeah.
And then they would stay up to watch the 24-hour of Le Mans. And so they had both independently at separate hangouts told me the story about how Ford tried to buy Ferrari, and that led to this whole race for which basically kicked off the movie or whatever. And so like I was like, oh, Ford versus Ferrari. Oh, and then I assumed hearing that Christian Bale and Matt Damon were in it, I assumed they were playing like Henry Ford II and Enzo Ferrari or something,
Right.
Like it was some sort of character drama or some shit.
Not the two, not Shelby and the what's his name, the guy that actually made the cars.
Right.
I mean, I would say my wife's one criticism is she looked up the guy that Christian Bale's playing, like that he's
that
he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And she was like, they were very generous because Christian Bale is significantly more attractive than the guy he's playing.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
She showed it to me, and I was like, "Oh my god, he looks like Nigel Thornberry, like in real life."
Ken Miles, that's his name. Yeah, I mean, and it's it's I don't know, a bittersweet story, kind of a tragic story. But it's a really good movie, and I think both those actors did a great job.
Oh yeah,
even though, like my girlfriend fell asleep towards the end of the movie, like the last hour, because we started at like 9:00.
Oh, so she missed like the end,
right? And she's like, "How did it end?" And I was like, "Well,
You're like Ford beat Ferrari."
Yeah, well, basically, yeah. I was like, yeah,
it.
he, Christian Bale's character like wins or whatever.
For anyone that hasn't seen the movie, sorry
spoilers,
for spoiling a historical event that happened over 100 years ago or whatever.
I mean, it was in the 1960s, but okay.
Yeah, almost 100 years ago. I don't know how much how time
it's like
works.
60 years. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a story from the 60s. So spoiler alert. What skip ahead like 5 minutes, but the at the end, I was like, I don't know. The Christian Bale won or was gonna win. But then, Asshat McGee like said, "Hey, Mr. Ford, have him slow down." As like one big last fuck you. So he called down to Matt Damon, and Matt Damon goes, "Matt Damon." And Christian Bale said, "Hey, what's wrong?" He goes, "Matt Damon." But even
very unhelpful information.
But even with that, like Matt Damon did a great job, and as much as you want to make fun of, and he embraces the Matt Damon from Team America, I think he's a great actor.
I think like the one criticism that I had in the movie was like when you watch a movie, you want the villain of the movie to be like they're a bad guy and they're bad, but they're also like you kind of like them, but you still understand that they're the bad guy. And like the bad guy in this movie, I literally just wanted to strangle every single second that he spoke in this movie. Like I did not like him in any way. I wish he was dead, and he's not. I don't even think he's a real person. Like,
he's like the smarmiest suck up corporate executive. Oh my god.
Like vice president asshole, and every time he showed up, I'm like, I wish you'd get hit by a bus. Like, yeah. So like there was no like like you watch a bad or you watch a movie with a villain in it, and you're like, oh, Captain Hook, like he's a jerk, but he's also Captain Hook. He's lovable and goofy, and this guy's just like should get kicked in the dick every day of his life. Like,
yeah, fuck that guy. And I went and read the Wikipedia article about Ken Miles because I wanted to know more about like the crash in his life and stuff like that because obviously some of it's editorialized, and like it pissed me off because like the poignant line or whatever that the dude says when Matt Damon's being all sad about his friend dying, he's like sometimes they just don't get out of the car, Yeah. It turns out Ken Miles like got thrown and ejected from his car and died on impact.
Yeah, sometimes you don't get out of the car, you get ejected from the car instead. That's what they should have said.
I guess so. Other than that, I've watched Back to the Future and Back to the Future 2. We have made it a Sunday thing to watch movies with the kids, and so
also good decision to skip Back to the Future 3.
Fuck you. First off, and second off, we haven't skipped it. We're getting to it next week.
You should just tell them that there wasn't one.
Back to the Future 3 is a great movie. Ah, man, you and Kristen.
I was about to get upset if you were going to say it was the best one. It's not. I like it because I like western-y, goofy stuff.
Thank
but
you.
It's not. I watched it recently, like in the last 3 months, and it's not a good movie.
Sure it
or I guess
is.
it's not on par with Back to the Future 1 and 2.
Right. Nothing's going to live up to Back to the Future 2. Like rewatching Back to the Future 2, I appreciate it more because it's each time period they visit represents an entire act of the story, basically, right?
Yeah.
And to cram as much as they did into each act to make them as memorable and as loaded as they are is amazing.
I don't want to spend too much time on it, obviously, but I recently learned that because I was watching American Gods, which Crispin Glover's in, and I was trying to look up some information on him, and he sued Back to the Future 2, the production company.
Oh yeah,
came out because he was not in the movie, but is still portrayed in the movie, and they use like footage of him in it without his permission.
Yeah, no, he was pissed. And like him and Bob Gale are like, no, they don't talk to each other.
They apparently made up and made another movie, but like,
oh, well, I guess that's good.
But yeah, he like sued him and stuff. Anyway,
yeah, it's an interesting story. Crispin Glover's an interesting guy. You should go, if you're listening, you should go look him up.
Go YouTube Clowny Clown. That's all the information you need to know.
I mean, I guess.
About Crispin Glover. And he writes a lot of weird books.
All right, well, let's get into news real quick. I'll kind of fire through this so we can get to our topic. But AMC shows $2.2 billion loss for their first quarter. And they have plans to fully reopen in July. Somehow.
I mean, I don't know how they lost money. I'm pretty sure they furloughed all their employees and then didn't keep their buildings turned on. So, I mean, how could they lose money?
You know what?
Except for all the movies that they already probably purchased and the rights that they already probably purchased. And all the food that they purchased for like February.
It's all right. They'll just reuse the popcorn.
I mean, popcorn never goes bad. As long as they haven't popped it yet, like idiots.
No. I'm sure they get it like shipped, popped in those giant ass bags.
AMC pre-pops $5 billion worth of popcorn in January for the rest of the year.
I mean, have you had their December popcorn?
I don't. No, I don't go to Ames. I think I have one near me, and they're so overpriced that I just don't go to them.
We actually have a lot of AMC news. Let's get into all this. So part of their opening plan is that they came out. I think this was Wednesday of last week, maybe Thursday. They came out in the morning and said that they aren't going to require customers to wear face masks when they reopen in the summer. Quote from their president, Adam Aaron, said, "We did not want to be drawn into a political controversy. We thought it might be counterproductive if we forced mask wearing on those people who believe strongly that it is not necessary."
And then all the people that believe that masks are strongly necessary decided to tell them to not go.
Within hours, AMC had released a new statement reversing their decision, saying they will provide masks available for purchase for $1 at the theater.
It's pretty cheap.
Which is pretty cheap. And I think...
Wait, are they 3D masks?
Ooh, I don't know. Or maybe they come with little like droplets, like droppers, and they can be 4D, like smell-o-vision in your mask.
Ooh. You know, like the glasses with the nose on top?
Yeah. Yeah.
They could do like a glasses with a nose and then a mask. Like.
But they are going to have a policy of no mask, no admittance. The statement from the company is, "This announcement prompted an intense and immediate outcry from our customers, and it's clear from this response that we did not go far enough on the usage of masks. At AMC Theaters, we think it absolutely crucial that we listen to our guests. Accordingly, and with the full support of our scientific advisors, we are reversing course and are changing our guest mask policy. As we reopen theaters, we now require that all AMC guests nationwide wear masks as they enter and enjoy movies at our theaters. The speed with which AMC moved to revise our mask policy is a reflection of our commitment to the safety and health of our guests," the company said.
I think I'm going to the next movie I watch at home, I'm going to wear my mask with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to see if I actually care enough to go to a place. Like, if I'm comfortable at home wearing a mask, then sure, I'll probably be able to comfortable wearing a mask at a movie theater. I don't think, like, it's a big deal. Like, whenever Universal Studios opened up, I know this is off topic for movies, but relevant for masks. Universal Studios opened up, and Disney is planning on opening up in Florida and California. And a bunch of people were complaining about Florida. And I've watched a bunch of videos of guys, like, at Universal Studios, and they're like, yeah, I mean, it was kind of sweaty, but I was fine. Like, so I wore the mask for like 5 hours while I was at the park, and it wasn't a huge deal. I was in 90-degree weather. So I'm pretty sure you could probably, like, I would have no issue wearing a mask in a air-conditioned movie theater for 2 hours.
Right. It seems like it would be just fine.
Yeah.
Speaking of closed theaters, the cinema industry could lose between $20 and $31 billion in revenues in 2020, compared to the $42 billion it generated last year. So that's terrible.
I mean, you know, at least they made a bunch of money last year, so they can cover their losses this year, right? That's how money works. I don't know how business works.
That's how money works.
Yeah. I have money last year, so I should have money this year.
In the realm of social awareness, there have been a couple of stories. 30 Rock is removing their blackface episodes.
Yep, they have 3 blackface episodes. I read an article today about it. Tina Fey came out and requested to have them removed in the current social situation, and NBC complied like immediately. They're like, yeah, we'll remove them in a week. Like, they're going to remove them from everything. So all streaming services are going to have it removed. You obviously can't remove them from DVDs. They're
not. They will probably never get released again, which is probably a good thing in the long run. There are a couple others, and I didn't write them down. I saw them in passing this week. That they're removing specific episodes, and good, you know.
I mean, I don't think 30 Rock's. Obviously, it's from like the early 2000s, so a different time. Also, I don't think it was acceptable then. I was kind of actually surprised that they had it at the time that they did.
Right.
But I think they got away with it because it was like a woman in blackface, versus, the usual way that it's done.
Right. And then also Hartley Sawyer was fired from The Flash. I know a lot of people don't care about that show, but it's one of my favorites. And I enjoyed his character, but he was fired after racist and misogynistic old tweets resurfaced. They were pretty bad.
I mean, I didn't look at the tweets, so correct me if they're that bad. But I am getting slightly tired of, because it was tweets from when he was like 24 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. It was about 10 years ago. Yeah.
And I am getting tired of us not being able to accept that a person can change over time. I understand that if he didn't come out and apologize or anything, and he was like, "Yeah, I still think that way now," like, then fuck him, I guess. But if somebody did something in their 20s, like we've all done really stupid shit in our 20s, and we come out now and we're like, "I was a different person then, and I don't believe those things, and I said some dumb stuff," that's one thing, but.
Yeah, I guess the rub is that he released an apology.
I'm sorry you were hurt by the things that I said, like that kind of stuff.
Well, no, I mean, it seemed like a sincere apology, and he said that his words were unacceptable, and good on him for that. I think the big rub is that he clearly knew that these tweets exist. I don't know that he tried to remove them or anything about it. Well,
the problem is he didn't get ahead of the situation.
Right. Knowing what is happening, and then knowing things that you have personally done in your life, you could give a heads up to the people that you work with that, hey, this might come up.
I mean, I think in that situation, it's like, I hope this doesn't. He probably just hoped it never resurfaced, but
yeah,
I don't know.
It's a tough situation, but they fired him. And I don't know, good, if they go through some sort of investigation and whatever the consequences to having been that person are, then he has to accept them. And I think that's
right.
Fine.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. It's just don't be an asshole in your 20s, everyone. Anyone that's listening to the show and is in their 20s or is not, or is before their 20s, stuff matters no matter what age you are.
Yeah.
You just don't realize it at the time.
Hopefully you reach the ripe old age of 80. I'm not even going to do that transition. Look.
What? oh man, that would be a rough transition. What do you think?
In sad news, Joel Schumacher did die this week at the age of 80.
At the ripe old age of 80. Hopefully you reach that. With all your regrets of the things you tweeted.
Joel Schumacher made some great movies. I think he is most media famous for, or meme famous for, having made the Batman movies, right? And yeah, quote unquote ruined the franchise. And we talked about that a little bit, but I don't know. I enjoy Joel Schumacher's work, and that was kind of a sad day.
Sad day indeed.
But speaking of the Flash and Batman, Michael Keaton in talks to play Bruce Wayne in new Flash movie.
If new Flash movie happens.
The rumor going around, I suppose, about the part that he would play is his Batman, just an older version of it. Probably in a multiverse type scenario.
So what the rumor is that it's going to be a Flashpoint movie, which in Flashpoint, the Batman in that is actually Bruce Wayne's father.
Thomas, yeah.
But so he would be technically playing Thomas Wayne.
I think that most people...
Because Bruce Wayne's dead in the Flashpoint.
Right, but I think most people have... what's his name? Dies in like every movie he's in or show. The comedian from the movie with the Watchmen, the comedian from the Watchmen. Henry D. Morgan.
I almost said Richard Dean Anderson.
Oh no,
they both have Dean middle names.
Henry Dean Morgan is rumored to be playing Thomas Wayne, and so believe he is in talks to play Bruce Wayne.
How isn't Henry Dean Morgan younger than Michael? I don't know.
You look that up.
I'm gonna look it up. You keep talking.
Sure. No. But yeah. So he is in talks to, literally, they said he's in talks to play Bruce Wayne. So I don't know if he's going to be like an older sort of like Batman Beyond type Bruce Wayne where he's nurturing somebody, a younger Batman.
Yeah, so Michael Keaton is 68 and Henry Dean Morgan is 54. So that'd be a weird time loop.
Yeah, it would. But so I don't know. With the Flash, anything is possible, except maybe having Ezra Miller be the Flash.
Yeah, who choked a fan on someone's phone and got recorded. So, you know, that's still up in the air. There's a lot of people calling for him to be removed. I don't think DC Warner has said anything about it yet, whether or not they're going to actually remove him.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I didn't mind his take on the Flash, but if he's choking women, that's a pretty hard no for me. Like, I'm excited for a Flash movie, but
Yeah, it's a pretty bad miss.
Yeah. Well, let's get to the topic on that fucking note, I guess. Gone in 60 Seconds, released June 9th of the year 2000, a good 5 days after I graduated from high school or so. No, I remember it's the first movie I saw after I graduated high school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was directed by Dominic Sena. I have no idea who that is, except that he directed Swordfish and a bunch of other movies.
Okay. Is that all he did?
No, I think he did like 5 movies, but Swordfish was the only one that I had heard of. Written by Scott Rosenberg, based on the movie Gone in 60 Seconds from 1974 by H.B. Halicki. Halicki, I don't know, however you pronounce it. Starring Nicolas Cage, Angelina Jolie, Giovanna Ribisi, Robert Duvall. At least those are the ones that were listed on the poster. Angelina Jolie's part is so small in this movie. I don't understand it, but you know.
Yeah. She has a big name at the time. This is in my notes I put prime Angelina Jolie time.
It's true. This is when we got that big jolt of Angelina Jolie that kind of stopped with Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, what? I don't even know what happened.
She married Brad Pitt.
And then she just stopped acting. I don't pay attention.
Yeah, more or less.
To celebrity stuff. Well, no, did she do Tomb Raider after that?
No, I think she was done doing Tomb Raider movies at that point.
Anyway, supporting roles, we got Delroy Lindo, Will Patton, Christopher Eccleston, and Chi McBride. Chi McBride?
Yeah, I don't know how the hell to pronounce the name, but yeah. It could be Chi, it could be Chai. I should have looked that up because I definitely looked up Trevor Raven.
Did you?
I love that guy.
Oh.
And I didn't know how to pronounce his name, and I always felt bad about that.
Okay.
No, okay. So he's the guitar player in Yes for the 90125 like era. There's like 3 or 4 albums in there in the mid 80s. And like that's the Yes that I grew up listening to. Well, I grew up listening to all of them, but that's the one like we had a music video of it because we taped it off MTV of like their concert of that show. And so like he was the guitar player in that.
For anyone else, I did just Google is Yes a band. So
and it's a great band. And so then when he started scoring movies, I was like, oh my God, the guy from Yes, this is amazing. And he did like Con Air, Armageddon, Deep Blue Sea, Remember the Titans, Bad Boys 2.
So that's why. That's because I have a note that's like, yeah, this basically feels like a 90s movie as far as music is concerned. And that's 100% why it sounds like that.
He's done more recent movies too. I just didn't list them because, like, in my mind, no, he's the '90s movie guy, man.
Do they sound like '90s movies? No. Did he do The Rock? Because there was definitely like a moment where I was like, "This sounds like The Rock."
No. That was Hans Zimmer and one of his acolytes. Like it's I forget who it is, but if you go look him up, he's done some other movies, and if you think about those soundtracks, it's like, oh yeah, that sounds like Hans Zimmer. But it did 237.2 million in 2000 money. The critical response apparently isn't great. It's got 65% on Rotten Tomatoes and 35% on Metacritic, and I'm honestly surprised by that.
I mean, 65%'s a pass, isn't it?
Is it? I think so. I don't know. I was surprised. Like we got on here and Andrew's like, it was a bad movie, and
I mean, I corrected myself. I said I enjoyed it, but it's not a great movie.
But in my heart, In my heart, it's like the best movie.
Your heart of hearts?
Not the best movie. It's no The Rock.
Oh, man. The best movie?
But it is in my heart, it is a great movie. It predates Fast and the Furious, is a car movie by like 1 year.
Actually, there's an old Fast and the Furious movie.
You know what? Actually, there's an old Gone in 60 Seconds movie. Made in 1974, being apparently not a great movie. I looked it up because I thought about watching it, and they're like, no, it's a bad movie. But it is absolutely famous for having the longest car chase in movie history, spanning.
I have to correct you now.
God damn it! Why?
Rotten Tomatoes is a 25%.
Oh, is that a typo?
Score. Yeah.
Whoops.
It's a 77% for audience score, but a 25% for critic score.
Yikes.
That is not a fresh tomato. It's a squashed one.
Whoops. So, most famous for the longest car chase in movie history, 40 minutes long, spanning 6 cities, and at least 83 cars crashed, smashed, or destroyed, according to its creators.
I did not realize how long that final chase scene was. And my wife came in the room, and I was like, it's been like 40 minutes. I've been watching this dude get chased by the cops for like 40 minutes. And she was like, yeah, like the whole lead up to this movie is just this one chase.
And it's a great chase. So I guess, spoiler warning, if you haven't seen this movie from 20 years ago, go watch it and then come back. It's because we're going to spoil the shit out of it from the beginning. It's a great car chase.
Or just get it spoiled. Like it's a 20-year-old movie. Who cares at this point?
It's a great car chase. I think it's one of my favorite car chases. I thought that maybe it had been like outdone by movies since then.
Yeah,
but maybe not. I don't know. Like Fast and Furious goes for like spectacle at this point.
I'm gonna be honest.
Go for it.
And please don't make me ever do this, because I do not want to do a full episode on all the Fast and Furious movies, and I feel like you're going to eventually make me do that. I have only seen one Fast and Furious movie, and therefore it is the best one, which is Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift is an okay movie. It's better than Too Fast, Too Furious. I will not make you do them all.
Okay, thank you. Because Robbie, a friend of the show, Robbie, did make me, back in the day, sit down, and I showed up at his house at like 9 a.m., and then we watched all of the Saw movies.
Nice.
Because he guilted me into it.
That seems like that would be an awful day, though.
I mean, we ordered pizza, we had fun, like we got drunk, like we just day drank the entire day, and watched all of the Saw movies. That was a good time, besides the Saw movie part.
Besides the part where we watched all of these terrible movies.
Yeah, basically.
I don't know. I Saw movies were okay, but God, I couldn't watch 6 of them in a row, I don't think.
Yeah, you think that, and then you do it because, you're forced to stick at your friend's house. But, at the time I was fueled by cigarettes, so that's all you need.
Oh, man. But right from the beginning of this movie, I was sucked back into it. The old like Touchstone logo. Like, I don't even think Touchstone's a production company at this point anymore.
I mean, I feel the same way about Orion, but Orion came back, but they were bankrupt for a long time. So maybe Touchstone will come back.
That'd be nice. I don't know. I just like their little logo with the stretch thing and the lightning bolt.
Yeah.
It's cool. And then it opens up. How does that movie even start? Oh, yeah.
It's like the credits or like the after the credits?
Dude, the credits are pretty great, right?
The credits are boring. It's like the most boring credits.
God damn, we are not going to agree on this movie at all.
With the most boring song that I've ever heard in my life.
I enjoyed that song, man.
Showing terrible photoshopped pictures of the cast together as like young people.
Yeah. Look, okay.
I even bought this movie. I bought this movie in SD because I'm not going to rent a movie for $5 or $4 and then not buy it if I can. Just spend a couple extra dollars more.
So you purchased it to watch it in shitty quality?
I mean, my TV upscales as best as can, so it upscaled to at least 1080p.
Okay.
It's not a 4K movie. It was made in 2000. I don't need to buy an HD version of this movie.
I mean, it's a 1080p version of the movie, at least native.
Yeah, but my TV upscales to that, so it's fine.
With missing it. I mean, no, I'm not having this fight with
It's
you
fine.
right now.
I didn't need it. I didn't need to spend $17 on a movie or rent it in HD. That was not something I needed. So start off the movie. There's a guy that steals a Porsche. He's trying to get 50 cars for a bad guy that has basically taken on a boost to get 50 cars so that way he can sell them to South America. But all 50 cars are impounded by the police. So the guy that was doing the boost, his brother, who used to be a big car thief, and is played by Nick Cage, has to come in and save his brother's life by stealing 5 cars in 4 days. So that way,
50 cars in 4 days.
Sorry, 5 cars. Did I say 5 cars?
Yeah.
50 times that by 10. So you thought the stakes were high. Now they're even higher. He has to steal 50 cars in 4 days for $200,000, and for his brother's life in order to save the day.
Yeah.
Which that's one of my main problems is that he has to steal 50 cars and he gets $200,000 out of this. The majority of those cars are worth over $100,000 a piece. Like, how lowballed is the villain of this movie that he's not getting that much money to pay the guys that are actually stealing the cars?
Well, I mean, yeah, no, you're right. I think there's apparently they didn't want their overhead to be too high, I guess.
Also, how stupid is Nick Cage's brother to agree to do this, for Giovanni to agree to, like, $200,000 for 50 cars? Yeah, you know, I could just take those 50 cars to other chop shops and probably make $1 million, but I'm gonna do it for you, man.
Yeah, 200,000 didn't seem like a lot of money. I guess it did in 2000.
I don't even know in 2000 monies if that would be like. No, I wouldn't. If I knew how to steal cars, which I have no idea how to do, if I knew how to do that, I would not do that. I would hard pass unless the guy was like, "Or I'll kill you," which could have been, but I feel like that would have been a better plot point.
I don't know. Maybe he was able to lowball it because the competition wasn't paying much. I don't know.
Perhaps.
But I really enjoyed Christopher Eccleston as the bad guy. Like this is how when I saw Doctor Who for the first time, for example, I was like, oh, it's the bad guy from Gone in 60 Seconds.
When I saw Doctor Who for the first time, I was like, oh, it's the metal face guy from the G.I. Joe movies.
Oh man, no. Christopher Eccleston to me will always be this bad guy. I forgot his name already, but
he's so like young and skinny in this movie that it was gross.
Yeah, that whole scene when he's like, then that makes me an asshole. Do I look like an asshole?
I immediately said yes, and then Nick Cage was like, yes, you do. And I was like, yeah, we're on the same page, Nick Cage. You're not scared of this guy.
But, okay, so when Nicolas Cage does first come back into town, he's got to assemble a crew, right?
Yep.
And
so he takes out his trusty conch, and he blows it in the air.
Well, first off, he takes, what is it, like a notebook with a list of names?
So he originally he goes to this old guy that I assume is the guy that taught him how to steal cards and is the chop shop, but is now gone like legit.
Right, Robert Duvall.
Yeah, and him and Robert Duvall are like, well, let's get a crew together, and they just have a list of names that they start just randomly calling.
Yeah, which I guess is their old crew. And that scene is cool. Like, I always enjoy the scene where, like in Ocean's 11, when they're like assembling their crew. I enjoy those scenes.
Yeah.
Because you kind of see those characters in their sort of native habitat sometimes.
Natural habitat.
And or what they've been doing. But the scene with Chi McBride's Donnie, where he's the driver ed instructor, and that poor Asian woman is just failing miserably.
Yeah.
That did not age well.
I guess, I don't know. I guess I didn't see it as like a bad Asian driver stereotype.
Even though she literally hit like 2 other cars and then
I guess
gave him
I
a heart
didn't even
attack.
notice that. Did she? The only thing I remember from that scene is her just screaming, and then her noticing that he's on the phone and screaming louder, and I thought that was funnier. But I feel like I would feel that was funny with any person, like no matter like who it was, because she obviously like was like, oh, he's ignoring me, and started screaming louder, and that's the funny part to me. But I do understand the stereotypes.
Yeah, that wasn't great, but whatever. But also, okay, so then Sphinx is one of my favorite characters. Let's talk about Sphinx for half a second.
Yep.
He is played by I forget who he's played by, but he's
Oh, I wrote it down.
Oh, good. What's his name?
It's Vinnie Jones.
Vinnie Jones, right? So he's like this tall, like really huge dude, and he doesn't say a fucking word through the whole movie.
This is his second movie.
Huh?
This is his second movie. First one was Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
I know this is his second movie. Wow. Okay. But yeah, he doesn't say a word through the whole movie. So, like I had assumed the first time I saw this, I assumed he was like mute, like he had his tongue cut out or some shit, right?
Right. And then he talks at the very end.
Which he says this thing that now it just seems kind of sort of trite, but at the time it was like, oh man, that's really fucking like philosophical, man.
I feel like you're at the age whenever that movie came out to where like I'm watching it now and I'm listening to terminology they're using, and as an adult I'm like, that's not a fucking thing, and I don't even see cars, and that's not a thing. Like you guys are just like, you're literally making up words to talk about cars, and I know enough about cars that that's not true. So like I feel like this movie was one of those things where it's like 2000, you said you just graduated high school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like getting into high school at this point, and you're watching the movie and you go like, yeah, fucking stealing cars, man, like you fuck the police or whatever. Which how incompetent the police in this movie are.
Oh yeah, speaking of that, okay, so well, getting back to Sphinx, he when they call him, when they're calling him on his list of things, they're like, well, the scientist that picks up the phone or whatever, I guess they're in a morgue, they're in a morgue. So the morgue technician or whatever is like, well, how do you even like get a guy to talk on the phone, whatever. And then Nicolas Cage is like, Sphinx, is that you? Press 1 if that's you. And he just kind of goes, blunk. Oh man, that was good. And then he shows up and blows up some dude's car.
And another car thief's car.
Right. But then like the car blows up. They have this entire like fight and interaction, and then beat up like 3 people, and then Sphinx and Nicolas Cage like walk away or whatever and go home, and then 6 other cars blow up.
They were 90s cars. 90s cars were highly explosive.
I guess they just did not build cars well in the 90s. It was just one of those things that Kristen's like, why did the other cars blow up though?
For action purposes. Gotta have that action.
You just don't understand. But no, it was that was a weird thing. But yeah, but speaking of things that she pointed out, in that scene where the guy is getting revenge for his car getting blown up, they hook a tow truck up to the frame of his car.
Yeah.
And then the tow truck driver drives off. My comment on that was, how's the tow truck driver just drive off and not notice that he pulled the fucking like axle off?
If you really want my opinion, he's drunk.
Okay. That's the only way that it makes sense. That he doesn't feel something just go.
That's why he denied. Didn't Nick Cage like offer him like a piece of pie or something?
Yeah.
And that's why he declined it. Or no, it was a bagel or a donut, and he was like, no, I'm super drunk, so if I have that bagel, it'll sober me up and ruin my buzz, man. And then he drove off.
And then, so then basically now that was how they got away from being trapped in this cafe, because they went in there because there were a bunch of cops in there and they knew they were safe because they wouldn't get attacked. So these people were waiting in the car with him with like shotguns and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the axle gets drawn off their car, and the cops are like, they come over and like, you boys got licenses for these guns? And Kristen just goes, yeah, that's how that would go.
Right. Yeah, no. I remember like I was watching it now and I was like, this is not nope.
Nope.
But I mean they had a movie camera on them, so they couldn't do anything bad, you know.
No, it's an episode of Cops.
Yeah. Well, they had their gun. They didn't calmly go over. They had their guns drawn, and they're like, "You got permits for them guns?" But right, they would probably just like shot the car.
But then after they assemble their crew, okay, and then the rest of the crew, I guess there's Sphinx, or not Sphinx. We already talked about Sphinx. Sway, who is Angelina Jolie's character, which is I suppose a former girlfriend of Nicolas Cage's character.
Man, what terrible hair!
Terrible hair.
It's like half dreadlock.
Yeah, like I don't know, super bleached.
Yep, super bleached, half dreadlocked.
Yeah,
like that's not. If that's her real hair, it's gonna fall out eventually. You can't bleach that hair that much and still keep it some really thin hair.
Oh man, it was gross hair. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I know that that was a style at the time, and it was, you know, people were into it. But it's the same as like 80s hair, right? Like it just no. People are eventually like, no, that's terrible. Don't do that.
I mean, the only other time I've seen that hair is in The Matrix 2, was it?
Oh yeah, the German guys or whatever, or the Swiss dudes.
Yeah. They had the pure white dreadlocks.
Yeah, for sure. But after they assemble their crew, Kip Raines, the younger brother, comes in with his crew, with Scott Conn.
And he's like, hey, you're not cutting into our $200,000. That's a whole lot of money right now.
Yeah, and then Nicolas Cage is like, you fucking idiot. It's not about the money. I'm trying to keep you from getting killed.
How many? It's like 10 people at this point splitting $200,000.
Yeah, they get like $20,000 each.
Like, that's not worth jail time. $20,000 is not worth jail time for anyone, I don't think. Like,
oh, man, no.
Like, that's not like retiring money. That's like, all right, I got enough money to put a down payment on a car, buy a car.
Right, I'd steal one car for $20,000.
Maybe, yeah. But I wouldn't like steal 50 cars. That's 50 counts of Grand Theft Auto. Like, I don't think that's worth the jail time, man.
But yeah, so they get both crews together, which is fine. You have the younger crew that's got, you know, newer technology and stuff.
Right? They're like, I'm a hacker and I can hack into the DPS or whatever, and I can get in and change the stuff, and I can order pizzas.
Yeah, he says he can get into the DMV, right, and hack the DMV and blah blah blah, and then fucking Donnie goes in and goes and pays $100.
Yeah, I just got out. Well, I think his stuff was like, hey man, I can hack in and I can change license plate numbers and stuff like that. Which doesn't like, Donnie goes in to like get the information, because all that stuff is like, for anyone that doesn't know, you can just go to the DMV and like get information about people's cars.
Yeah,
that's 100% legal. Like, it shouldn't be, I don't think.
Yeah, it's public record.
Yeah,
you know,
but,
which is weird.
Yeah, but you can if you want to pay for it.
But yeah, so they get their two crews together and they decide to steal all the cars in a single night. So they spend the first night canvassing and looking for the cars. Well, they spend the first day doing the research information for the cars, and then that night they go in and pre-scout them to make sure that everything's kind of okay.
I mean, I want to bring up I have a problem because I feel like it would take Nick Cage more than a 24-hour period to get all these people together.
Sure.
Because it makes it seem like it takes him like 3 days, but he only has 4 days to do the whole thing. So he obviously had to get it all together in like 1 day. But like, the timeline for this movie is so messed up, and I'm like, you couldn't do that in 1 day. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, there's no way, because like the first day they have to get everybody together. The second day they got to do all their research. The third night maybe would be the one. Yeah,
they go take like all the pictures and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's a pretty tight timeline.
Yeah, Yeah. It is a very, very tight timeline. During this process, they do run into two LAPD officers, I guess, from the Grand Theft Auto Division. What's it called?
He goes and sees his mom at a diner, and two police
Mm-hmm.
officers see him walk in and recognize him from his days from years ago. Or from at this point, it seems like 10 years ago. They're like, oh, that's definitely him. And they call the two detectives that have been on his case forever. And they show up, and can we talk about for a second just Timothy Oliphant's character in this movie?
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. I have never been able to take Timothy Oliphant seriously.
He's always usually a bad guy.
Because the first time I saw him was in this movie. So to me, he's always that character.
It's just
like I tried to watch that HBO show, the Western show. What's it called?
Are you talking about Westworld?
No. From
Deadwood.
10 years ago. Deadwood.
Yeah.
Like I tried to watch Deadwood.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't take his character seriously, even though it's a serious character.
I've never watched Deadwood. My wife's always upset because Timothy Oliphant always plays bad guys usually.
Mm-hmm.
And she thinks he could be a leading guy, but he's just I don't know. He's so goofy in this movie that he's like a cartoon character. Everyone.
He's a good guy in Transformers.
Yeah, that's not him in Transformers. This is a different actor.
Oh, is it not?
Yeah. That's because she was talking about it today. She was like, well, he looks a lot like this guy who's the main military dude in the first 3 Transformers movies.
Oh, whoops.
So you got the wrong actor. But yeah, he's just his character in this is so off the wall, goofy, cartoonish that it takes any there's some seriousness about this movie until he shows up and he's like, "Hey, boss, I got things." I can't even remember what he did, but he just.
When you get out, there won't even be cars.
Yeah,
They'll be in little
one.
spaceships.
We'll be in spaceships. You're gonna be in jail for so long. And I was like, God, no, man. Who wrote this movie? Fuck that guy. The writing in this movie is so bad in so many places.
And then at the end, when they have the big car chase, his fucking character isn't even there.
Timothy Oliphant?
Yeah.
He's there. He's in the car. He gets out at one point whenever that dude goes to the wall and he goes, "Are you okay?" And the cop's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Are you sure you're okay? Because you just went through a wall." And then he gets back in his car and I was like, well, I don't even know.
Right, but in the climax of the movie when the Delroy Lindo's character is hunting.
Yeah, he's not even there.
And all that stuff goes down, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Probably
that dude's nowhere to be found.
Probably
we
just
can get into it now.
Cracking jokes in his car. It's probably just
right to himself.
We're in the future. We're all in rocket ships, and you're still in the jail.
He's still thinking about that joke. Oh man, that was fucking great.
I was so funny back then.
Meanwhile, his partner's about to get shot in the face.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand that either. Nicolas Cage's character, Memphis Reigns.
Mm-hmm. Memphis.
I don't know why I can't remember his name.
It's terrible. It's a terrible name.
Memphis Reigns, murders a man in front of his face.
It's a D&D character.
Has stolen 50 fucking cars, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'm gonna let you."
Well, because he
leave.
saved his life. You wouldn't let it. First off, this guy's a dirty cop to begin with. All the stuff he's done through this entire movie to try to get him is off the books. And not not at all legal. There's several portions where I was like, he can't. What was it in the beginning of the movie when they first impound the cards? He's like, "We're gonna impound these cards for a month," and I'm like, I don't think you have the jurisdiction to tell anyone how long those. That's based off of whatever laws in California. You can't just tell them to impound the cars. Just I
don't care if they belong to Tom Cruise.
Yeah, cops can't just be like, "Well, I'm going to arrest this guy for over 24 hours." That's not how the law works, man. If you don't have any evidence, then you can't keep him.
I just like that Tom Cruise being a leading man is now a dated reference.
Yeah. I mean, he still is, but he shouldn't be. But yeah. I don't know. Yeah, his whole being a cop part, or whenever he's looking at the homicide stuff for Eccleston's character.
Mm-hmm.
And the other guy comes in. He's like, "Hey, you guys shouldn't have been looking at this. Like, this is only our stuff." And they're like, "Yeah, we were looking at it anyway." It's like, what is happening in this movie? Like, who are these two renegade cops who are probably murdering people off when the camera's not looking at them? Just like
they're in high profile auto police enforcement.
Oh man, high profile auto police enforcement. We haven't seen that literally ever. That's the thing. I don't know. I also don't. I have so many issues with the police in this movie.
Go for it.
I don't know. Police chases are always weird just because of the amount of whenever he backs up and they all get out and point their guns at him, it's like you're not gonna shoot him. He's just gonna drive off.
I mean,
nope.
Yeah, that car chase was ridiculous. It's obviously it's fun, whatever.
Right.
But at one point it comes to kind of a lull and his car dies, when he's kind of waiting for people to go by or whatnot. And then he starts it up and then immediately tears ass away. And the cop's like, "Oh, hey, there you are."
Right. And also when he tears ass away, it's after he broke a mirror. And whenever he drives away, the mirror's fine. Continuity issues. Yeah, I immediately was like, well, "What?" Can I talk about something? There's a point.
Sure.
There's a point whenever one of the pizza guy, the guy that's like, I guess I'm not just about getting pizzas, brings a stolen car from Chinatown into their area, and it has a bunch of heroin in the back.
Yeah.
And then the cop, the detective, just randomly drops by, and they let him in for some reason without a warrant. And they're trying to hide the heroin in the car.
Mm-hmm.
That whole scene, man, was so
terrible. And then they're egging him on to goose the gas.
Yeah, and then Nick Cage at one point's like, "Well, if you want to stay, we're gonna make some s'mores."
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Pronounced s'mores wrong.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm sitting there and I'm Googling s'mores. I'm like, am I been saying it wrong this whole time, or is Nick Cage an idiot and pronounces it s'mores? Yeah, we're just gonna have some steaks and some s'mores.
Yeah, it's like a setup for a Sandlot joke.
Yeah, I just some more. I want some more. That the fingerprint bit. Whenever what's his name wants gloves, rubber gloves, and then the other guy
and he gives it.
Who's like, "Well, we got fingerprints now," and he puts Elvis's fingerprints on him or whatever, and I was like, "That's not real technology. That does not exist."
Right, and he puts it over one fingertip.
Yeah, so you're cured. You're good now. You're fine. No.
They'll match all your prints but one.
Yeah, no
and so
need.
they can't prove it was your hand
because one will be Elvis's prints, and he's dead. So why would it be your prints? I didn't realize Bob Kelso from Scrubs was in this movie for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Same truck shows up at the very end during the big chase. The truck that ripped the car up that you were talking about earlier is the same truck that shows up during an intersection during the big Eleanor chase. And hits a car or something it's a cop car or something like that.
The lead up to, or excuse me, the night that they're canvassing stuff.
Yeah.
Was interesting, I guess. I don't know. I had a lot of, actually, not the night they were canvassing. When they went and actually got the cars, the kinds of problems that they ran into almost immediately,
right,
were ridiculous. The keys were hot on the car, and he figured that out because basically there were 3 cars that they had to get custom keys from the dealership.
Right.
So they got that taken care of the second time, and that guy had been tipped off by the cops, or he was tipping the cops off for them, and they had set up surveillance. And Nicolas Cage notices that a van was parked 2 houses down the night before. It was in the wrong spot. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. I guess if you're a master car thief who's doing this for a living, you're going to notice that kind of thing. But if I went to a random neighborhood and then came back the next night, I don't know that I noticed that.
I mean, to be fair, he was specifically casing the area and took a picture of it. and you would notice like if a neighbor parked in a different neighbor's house, like if I parked in my neighbor's driveway, that would weird me out for one. But I'm pretty sure someone that was casing my house would notice if my car was parked somewhere else.
I guess. I just feel like that's one of those things that you notice over time. But I don't know, man. It makes sense. But anyway, that leads to them needing to steal cars from the police impound lot.
Right. And the guy's like terrible like distraction attempt.
Terrible distraction attempt. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Anytime that Brick House song comes on, I think of that scene and him going, "She's a brick." No.
I feel like if I was the
No.
guy like at the police impound and somebody pulled out a Barbie doll, I'd be like, "Please leave," and I would just ignore them like immediately.
Yeah, but he starts helping the guy, which is a whole thing. But before they even can go get the cars, they have to get the keys from their dog's ass.
Yeah. And that's when we see a very young Michael Pena. So young, like just baby faced. My wife was in another room because she had to do some stuff, and she came back afterwards, and we finished the movie, and then I rewound the movie to that part, and she was like, "Oh my God, I can't take him seriously. Like, there's no way that he would ever be threatening in this scenario." And I was like, even in that situation, if he pulled up with a bunch of guys and he pulled a gun on me, I'd be like, "Okay, calm down, the guy from Ant-Man. Let's just take a second here. You seem like a reasonable dude." Like,
oh, poor Michael Pena. Oh man, but yeah, no, and it's watching it. I was like immediately like, "Oh my God, that's him!"
Yeah.
Clearly, I remember that scene. Because, "Oh, you'll get your jollies from digging in dog shit."
So baby faced, such a baby faced. Like his skin is so smooth. I was like, man, yeah, definitely.
It's a good scene, but God, it makes no sense. They give the dog laxative to get some keys so they can go steal some cars. Like,
the
it's
dog ate
whatever.
it because it also ate a bunch of hamburgers and stuff. Yeah, it's a weird, like, terribly written, fun movie. Like, it is a fun movie. I will say that it's fun to watch. Just like Van Helsing is a fun movie to watch, but also just a trash movie. I don't know. It's a specifically like felt like a 90s movie, but at the very edge of it.
Is that your final thoughts there?
That's my final thoughts. Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's good. I would still suggest to watch it if you have it. If it's free, if it comes on a streaming service, I wouldn't necessarily say pay for it, but it's a fun movie.
Yeah, if you look it up on Google, it says it's free on Vudu, but that's a lie.
It is a lie because I also saw that and looked it up, and it was not free.
Yeah, so maybe it will be again in the future. Who knows? But yeah, no, I would agree with you. I think watching it again, it's a fun movie, but it is in no way a good quality put together movie.
Yeah.
And it's Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage, and I think it's really enjoyable watching him and his interactions with various characters and the different characters he plays in the movie or different personas he puts on, like in the Ferrari shop, for example.
Yeah.
It's an enjoyable thing to watch and consume. But if you're looking for some kind of like high quality cinema, A, why are you watching a car movie? And B, it's definitely not this one.
And it's a Nicolas Cage movie.
Right? You can never get too much Nicolas Cage. Well, I don't know. Maybe you can. But we haven't yet.
And we did a whole episode on Nick Cage movies.
Yeah, next week. Before we get to next time, you can rent or buy this on most streaming services, like we were talking about.
But it's not free anywhere that we could find. So. And
the rental price was like $5 or something, right?
Yeah, I think you found it as low as $2.99, which is still high for my standards for a '90s Nick Cage movie.
Right. And then purchase price is almost like $20 for HD.
Like I said, it was $17.99 for HD everywhere I looked, and then $10 for SD.
So I don't know that I would go buy it if you haven't seen it. unless you're just like a huge Nick Cage fan. You're like, yeah, it's a movie that's on my list. Okay,
Yeah.
it's a fun adventure in that case. But if you're like, I want to see a car movie from before Fast and the Furious to see what car movies were like,
Then wait till it's free on a streaming service.
yeah, for sure. But anyway, next episode we're gonna talk about the Nicolas Cage version of The Wizard of Oz.
But he's not in it.
Oh,
Yeah, we're just gonna watch the regular Wizard of Oz.
oh, the 1929 classic
What?
or 1939 classic.
Yes, the 1939 classic, The Wizard of Oz, not the 1929 classic.
Is it? I don't remember. I don't know.
It is 39. You were right the second time.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job. The Technicolor 1939 classic, The Wizard of Oz.
Starring Judy Garland.
And no one else.
I'm excited. I haven't seen that movie in a long, long time, but I'll probably watch it with the kids next week.
Yeah, I would suggest it. It's one of my. It was one of my favorites for a very long time, and still kind of is. It's a very well put together movie, but we'll talk about it at that time.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it, and I guess we will talk to everybody next time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.